I'm back. Hi guys, I'm back. It has been a hot minute since I last uploaded a YouTube video. Things have been crazy this year. It has been insanely busy. Towards the end of 2020, I planned everything out for 2021, and then as with most planning in life, 2021 came and everything went for a gigantic ball of shit. That is an exaggeration. Things have been good. I've just been incredibly busy, and that's why it's taken me so long to upload another video. So I've had a lot of requests from you guys on my social media to read you another story from my book Ephemera, and that is what we're going to do today. I'd really like to do that, so that's the video we're filming. But before we get into it, I just have a couple things I need to talk to you guys about, real quick. The first thing I have to do is say a massive thank you once again to everybody who's gone out and bought a copy of Ephemera. I think I've sold 125 copies so far, so we had to do the initial print run and then we had to do a second print run, and I could not be more grateful for the support that has come from all of you guys. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really wouldn't be able to continue doing this stuff without your support, and it makes me happy and it makes me so fulfilled. So thank you. Over 125 copies sold worldwide. I could not be more elated. Thank you. And then the second thing is just a quick update on what I'm currently working on. I can't talk about it too much because things are still in the pipeline, things are still being put together, but I've been working very hard since Ephemera came out on my second book, which will be released later on this year. I did put out a video on my TikTok that did give a couple details about what it's going to be. So it is another book of short stories, or I guess they're not really short stories, they're a little bit longer. They are stories, some are novella length, that'll be coming out later this year, and it's going to come with a whole bunch of goodies. It's incredibly witchy, so if you liked Ephemera, I really hope what I'm going to do next, or what I'm doing next, you'll really like that as well. So yeah, keep an eye on it, watch this space, because it's going to be a book, and then the book is going to come with a whole bunch of goodies and merch that are connected to the book that you can buy with the book if you so please. So yeah, if you are thirsting for more stories, they're coming soon. Just hang in there for me a little bit longer. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the reading of today's story. So today I'm going to be reading a story called The Last Sister. It is the 7th story in Ephemera. And maybe just to give you guys a little bit of background for those of you that are interested, this story was actually the first one that I wrote for this collection. And it is a story that's really close to my heart. What had happened was I hadn't written in a very long time. And I was kind of in a dark place. It wasn't the happiest time of my life. And I decided that I really just needed to sit down and write something. So I got this idea in my head. Often my ideas sort of start with an image that I have in my head and a photograph, or maybe a bit of a movie, and then I build on the story from there on the written page. So it is a very short story, it's not very long, but it is very close to my heart, as it was the first one that I wrote for this collection, and it kind of got me out of my slump. So the story is very close to my heart. I'm a big fan of it. It's one of my favorites in the book, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So let's get into it. The Last Sister. She really was kicking and screaming towards the end, wasn't she? Said Takarua, carefully weaving her coconut leaf basket together. Her hands were calloused and wrinkled. She no longer recognized them, but they were still sturdy enough to do a good job. She was calm until they reached the edge of the volcano. The two frail women sat next to each other on the beach. Takarua continued to weave her basket, while Matariki watched the sun dip into the edge of the horizon, making the sea look like it was on fire. Behind them, smoke bellowed from the mouth of the volcano in the middle of the island. It was an utter disgrace, if you ask me, Matariki said bitterly. Being chosen by the gods as a sacrificial virgin is a great honor and should be handled with dignity. My granddaughter Talia would have done a much better job. Some people say the louder the screams, the better the gods can hear you, said Takarua, taking a break from her basket weaving. It is said that if the gods really feel the suffering, they do a better job of keeping the island safe from a volcanic disaster and provide us with a plentiful harvest season. Also, if Talia is still a virgin, then so am I. Some people's heads are filled with turtle dung, grumbled Matariki, choosing to ignore Takarua's reference to her granddaughter's much gossiped about sexual exploits with the young men, and even some women of the island. Do you remember when it was my last sister who was chosen? Now there was a girl who went to the great Marunuke with honour. She didn't even shed a tear. Takarua did remember the last of Matariki's sisters that went to the flames, for it was Takarua who put the crown of pearls on the girl's head and dressed her hair for the day of the sacrifice. It was long ago, but if she closed her eyes, Takarua could still feel the tortoiseshell comb weaving through the girl's silky onyx hair. The girl might not have shed a tear, but Takarua felt the fear in her, like stepping onto scorching beach sand in the middle of the day. Takarua knew that Matariki liked to talk big about her family's devotion to the gods. Granted, she did have bragging rights, as no other family in the tribe had sacrificed as many virgins to the great Marunuke as Matariki's. But not many of the other girls on the island clung to their virginity as fiercely as the ones from Matariki's family, except for Talia, of course. All the girls who had entered the time of the blood lily this season, and every season before this one, had many opportunities to lose their virginity, and Talia had not wasted a single one. The festival of the bleeding begonia, the night of 1,000 warthog sausages, and even the peeling of the ceremonial banana. Talia actively participated in all of them with the stamina of a female lemur in heat. She was present front and center, her legs open as the tide is high. She flung her fanny to the wind with a reckless abandon unlike any Takarua had ever witnessed in her long life. This was a fact that Matariki chose to overlook, even though she knew better than anyone the disaster that would befall the entire island if the tribe were to accidentally hurl a girl into the volcano who was not pure of punani. Takarua looked over at her old friend. The sun had set now, but she could still make out every wrinkle on Matariki's face in the silvery light of the full moon. She was crying, not excessively, but with dignity and maybe even a hint of pride. Takarua did not understand her friend's uncharacteristic display of emotion and was silent until the metaphorical coconut dropped. You encouraged Talia to lose her virginity, didn't you? I didn't encourage her to lose it. I told her to utterly obliterate it, Matariki grunted, forcing her tears back with the determination of a stubborn ball. Well, if that is the case, then she definitely listened to you, said Takarua. One might even accuse her of being an overachiever. The other day, someone, I'm not going to say who, told me that Talia has had so much sex that if you were to blow into her vagina, it would make the same sound as if you were to blow into a conch shell. Takarua waited for laughter, but none came. Instead, Matariki looked somber. She knew that Matariki was the youngest of 6 sisters who were all offered to the great Marunuke. She was the only one left, and Takarua had often wondered why, but she knew better than to ask. Matariki had a tongue sharper than the business end of a fishing spear, and she was not afraid to impale anyone with her words if they dared to offend her. My father groomed my sisters and me to be sacrificed from birth, said Matariki. He told us over and over again what an honor it was to serve our island, our tribe, and most importantly, the gods. He told us it was our sacred duty as women to meet the flames. When my last sister was sacrificed, I decided with everything inside of me that I would never be one of the girls thrown into that volcano. That night, I made sure to lose my virginity. I don't even remember which of the boys it was. It didn't matter as long as he got the job done, and he did. My father was mortified. He disowned me, but it was worth it. A few seasons later, when I married Tanuki and fell pregnant, those 9 months of waiting were the most terrifying time I've ever lived through. Takarua had to fetch her bottom jaw from the sand. In all their seasons of friendship, Matariki had never confided in her like this. She had always assumed that the sacrifice of Matariki's 5 sisters was a source of great pride for her and her family. She sat in shocked silence while her fellow geriatric tribeswoman continued her confession. Tanuki was a good man, and he knew how I felt about the sacrifices. He promised me that if we had a daughter, he would never allow her to take part. I didn't trust him. The will of men is as brittle as coconut husk, and their promises aren't worth iguana shit. I was afraid that he would give in to the pressure of the elder tribesmen. Then I gave birth to Kai, and I had nothing to worry about. Let me tell you, I have never in my entire life been so elated to see a penis. The stars reflected in Matariki's brown eyes as she reminisced. They held the wisdom of all her seasons, but lacked the light milky glaze that so often overtakes the eyes of people when they reach old age. When Kai's wife gave birth to Talia, I was petrified for that baby girl. I didn't think Kai was the type to let her follow the path of the sacrificial virgin. After all, I had raised him. Things are different when they are little. Boys will believe anything their mothers tell them, but by then he was a man, and I wasn't going to take any chances. From before Talia could even speak, I told her that when her time of the blood lily came, she was to lose her virginity faster than a tree loses its leaves during a hurricane. Maybe I scared her, and that is why she was so thorough in her endeavour, but I refused to apologize for it. She is still alive and probably pregnant with a baby of her own by now. Did you see her go at the jubilee of the blooming pineapple blossom? If that night didn't end in pregnancy for her, then nothing will. Matariki fell silent and continued to gaze at the stars. She had a slight grin on her face that did a bad job of hiding her pain from the loss of her sisters, the scorn of her father, and the fear that she had lived with her whole life. Takarua regarded her old friend with new eyes. She felt shame for not seeing Matariki for who she truly was, instead of just dismissing her as an overly religious zealot. Takarua had come from a less devout family, and her father had passed over to the land of the dead when she was a small girl, long before her time of the blood lily. She barely remembered him, and her mother never pressured her into losing her virginity or remaining chaste to follow the path of the sacrificial virgin. Matariki had obviously not been so lucky. Takarua was now the one crying. You know what the worst part is, said Matariki, looking over at Takarua for the first time since the conversation started. They make us believe that we have a choice. With one face, they tell us that we are free to take part in any deflowering ceremony, copulation carnival, or fertility festival we choose. But there is another face, one they only use in private when they sternly remind us that we have a duty to serve our people, our island, and our gods. Takarua let go of the basket she'd started weaving what felt like an eternity ago and took hold of Matariki's hands. All this time and I had no idea, she said, tears streaming down her face. She was not as graceful a crier as her friend. I'm so sorry. Matariki, not one to enjoy the luxury of emotional comfort for long, gently moved her hands away from under Takarua's. It's all in the past now, she said, getting up and dusting the sand off her skirt. And hopefully the future will be better for it. Change is the only constant, my dear friend, said Takarua, trying to comfort Matariki while wiping her tears away with the back of her wrinkled hand. Who knows, maybe one day someone will convince the tribe to start throwing men into the volcano instead. Matariki let out a laugh from deep inside of her that Takarua was sure echoed all the way to the opposite side of the island. That will be the day, chuckled Matariki. This island will be engulfed in lava and ash before those men decide to launch one of their own into that bastard volcano. But we can dream, said Takarua, getting up to walk her friend home. Indeed we can, Matariki replied. Guys, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. If you like what you heard, Ephemera is still available. You can order it through me. All the details, everything important is in the description down below. You can also get it through Amazon, and the link will be down there as well if you want to hear more stories from the short Ephemera, short fictions, and anomalies. Thanks again so much. Like, subscribe, please do all the good YouTube things, and yeah, watch this space because there's exciting new stuff coming to you very soon. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.